Mexicano, Sego, Segoli, Songwenko, Matthew Hickey Giasso, Hane Songwenko Giasso. My name is Matthew Hickey. I'm delighted to be here with Les and Michael to present our work at the Indigenous Hub. The Indigenous Hub is a project that is first of its kind in Canada, bringing together landscape, health, education, and community. The Indigenous Hub is located in the City of Toronto, within the province of Ontario, within Canada, all of which are Indigenous names. Toronto has a large urban Indigenous population with just under 100,000 people of Indigenous descent. I want to clarify that when I use this term Indigenous, I'm referring to people of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis descent with and without status. Toronto is located within the Great Lakes system on the shores of Lake Ontario. The city has many continuous green spaces that are a result of the 9 major cities that run through the greater area. Each river creates a significant ecosystem contained along their watershed and river valleys. The Don River is one of those major rivers, and you can see it highlighted here with both its east and west branches showing as you move north. In recent years, the mouth of the Don has gone under major changes, helping to renaturalize an area that had formerly been used by industry. The river system is approximately 37 kilometers long. To put that in context, that's twice the length of Manhattan Island. Highlighted here is in yellow is the Canary District, an area named after the Industrial Heritage Building, which still stands today on the Indigenous Hub block. Understanding the history of this place was extremely important to us, as the hub is located in the former delta of the river. The land, having a very clear industrial heritage, also had a very strong cultural and natural heritage. One of the conceptual ideas that came from this natural heritage is the connection between the sky, land, and water through the idea of pebbles in a stream. The Indigenous Hub is made up of multiple Indigenous service providers with multiple building typologies. It was very important for this work to be led by the Indigenous community that would be inhabiting the buildings and the landscape. Further, there are other partners that are not Indigenous, including the City of Toronto and post-secondary institutions, all of whom were involved in the visioning of the site and continue to be consulted throughout the process. Some key ideas that came out of these consultations included a connection to landscape, respect for nature, and a place for ceremony.
This is the Canary District, the former delta of the Don River. The park to the right is Corktown Commons, the large bermed landscape protecting the area from flooding. The 2.5 acre site for the hub is highlighted in yellow. The site is home to the Canary Building. The images on the right give you a sense of the surrounding context of this developing part of Toronto. It's one of the largest urban redevelopments in North America. The hub site is circled in the middle. Blue represents projects approved and currently under construction. Purple represents projects going through the municipal approval process. The master plan is inspired by a landscape-first approach. Thinking of the city block first as a landscape changes the paradigm of how to approach built form on the site. Rather than the usual street edge condition, it implies a dominance of landscape, street edges that prioritize porosity, transparency, and connection to inner landscape. The central landscape courtyard is clearly visible from the street edges. The southwest corner is open and public, providing a gateway to the site and the precinct. The central landscape courtyard is punctuated by native trees and traditional healing plants. It provides outdoor space for a health center, a community daycare, and an education center, and it's a wonderful amenity for the residents. The courtyard landscape is characterized by Carolinian trees and grasses and features seating, walking paths, and an amphitheater to support ceremony and dance. Anishinaabe Health Toronto is an organization that provides healthcare services to the Indigenous community in the city. They currently operate out of 3 antiquated facilities. At the heart of the Indigenous Hub is the Anishinaabe Community Health Center, bringing all these services together into one contemporary health facility. Inspired by pebbles in the stream, the ground floor of the health center is designed to promote visual and physical porosity. Each of these circular forms contain key program components: the ceremonial space, the community kitchen, and the community room. Clad in Corten steel, these elements anchor the public realm and the health center directly to the earth. There are 3 clinical floors above the ground floor, organized around a 4-story atrium that opens to the east. Each clinical floor is directly connected with this central landscape. In this section, the clinical floors on the left side of the screen float well above the ground floor, reinforcing the porosity from street to central landscape. The Corten-clad traditional healer spaces on each of the upper floors anchor the clinical spaces to the ground plane. It's important to note that there's no excavation beneath the health center. It's connected fully to the earth. Similarly, there is nothing above it, connecting it fully to the sky. The inspiration for the building expression is the shawl. The idea that wrapping a shawl around us provides us with a sense of warmth and protection. The shawl opens to the east, connecting the atrium to the central landscape. It's not advancing for some reason. Oh, there we go. The idea of shawl is evoked through perforated aluminum panels. Perforations of various densities and sizes create the illusion of folding fabric while also representing indigenous graphics commonly used in the shawls. The Corten-clad pavilions containing the community kitchen and the community room define the ground floor. Here's a view looking east from Cherry Street, looking through the public realm of the ground floor through to the central landscape. And here we are within that central landscape, looking back to Cherry Street through the lobby. The atrium is characterized by fritted images of wildlife.
The Indigenous Hub houses a training, education, and employment center adjacent to the health center, which will be operated by Indigenous organization Miswabik. It will include workshops and classrooms to train trades for the construction industry, an Indigenous child daycare center, family and child services, and offices for other Indigenous community organizations. The building exterior features rough, patterned white precast concrete panels, which evoke groves of birch trees native to the Don River Valley. The industrial area Canary restaurant building, which in its history was a public school, a hotel, and a diner, will be renovated into restaurants and offices, and the restored heritage structure will act as an inviting gateway to the Indigenous Hub from downtown Toronto. In addition, an outdoor plaza between the Canary restaurant building and the Miswabik will feature a 2-story high wall with Indigenous iconography and views again to the raised landscape interior courtyard beyond. A 13-story mixed-use condominium and an 11-story rental apartment building will bring more than 400 new homes to the Indigenous Hub. Acknowledging that the community must serve a wide variety of cultures and worldviews with a complex multi-use program, every aspect of the design conveys an inclusive, respectful, and lively environment that celebrates the historically rich land. The building draws inspiration from nature and integrates Indigenous design principles, including curved and fritted balcony railings that represent clouds, pebble walkways that emulate river stones, patterned precast concrete panels that evoke birch trees, and multiple tones of masonry laid in a woven pattern that harkens to the craft of basket weaving. The Southwest Plaza is open to the street and provides an outdoor space for community gatherings and ceremonies, and uses stones to continue the motif of pebbles in a stream, and offers additional views to the raised landscape interior courtyard. The plaza gives physical form to the ideal of reconciliation, for both Indigenous peoples and the community at large. The same respect for natural materials and visual connections to the outdoors and nature carries through the residential interior amenity spaces. And similarly, on the roof terraces, the use of native species connects to the outdoor landscaping below, offering the opportunity to experience the transition of seasons, years, and time.
The Indigenous Hub poses the question, can we prioritize landscape for all our relations? That is to say, keep space and place for the wind, the rain, the birds, the bees, amphibians, and all the animals and plant life that we've displaced. And can that prioritization lead to health, not only for our cities, but for the humans who inhabit them? Yawen, thank you.